It's totally a pleasure and an honor to be here among such dignitaries and especially the gurus and teachers out here. I'm actually very privileged and kind of scared and nervous right now because the last time I made a presentation in front of the teachers, there were 5 of them, it was a disaster. And I was asked to redo it again, right? So I want to break the jinx now. So I know I'm the last one between you and the fun time, so I'm going to be really, really short and fast. Right, so in 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about cyber security, and where do we go from here. And why cyber security today is imperative for economic prosperity of any industry and country. The reason I chose this topic is not because I work in Palo Alto and security happens to be my bread and butter, but for the very fact that cyber security today is getting lots of attention on a global basis. And the question that we really need to answer today is, what do we do about this? So I'm going to talk about some of the organizing principles around security that we as society need to internalize, right? And the most important point that is cyber security going to stay here? How long and how does it matter? Right? So I'm going to start by saying that what time and age is this? It's truly a digital age that we live in. Everything that we do today as a society, whether it's personal, professional, business, are driven by these digital technologies. These technologies are changing the way we live, work, shop, stay healthy, and travel. Driverless car, for example. These technologies are changing, and I'm sure, I think the only thing that they're going to do today is to continue into the future. So when you have an age which is driven by these technologies, and the good part about that is there are tons and tons of massive productivity gains. So many times you had heard that the age that you live in is called the 4th Industrial Revolution. And the reason for that is that every industrial revolution so far has got massive productivity gains for humankind. But the difference between this one is the amount of gains that society has incurred in the last 30, 40 years is staggering, and probably more or equal to the gains all stacked up together from the early revolutions. This age is driving the convergence of technologies, which is kind of blurring the lines between physical, digital, and biological systems. And the best part about this is that these technologies are being embraced by every industry. Every industry today is vulnerable to digital disruptions. They're kind of reinventing their business models and transitioning into a digital mode. And not only industries, every country aspires to travel the digital path. The good news is that India has already commenced its digital journey in the form of smart cities, smart homes, e-services for citizens, I think what Mr. Rajendra spoke about earlier, right? So when you have an age which is driven by these technologies, which loads of innovation and massive productivity gains, the concern from security perspective is natural, or maybe obvious. And we all are just an inch away from that massive chaos, because there is a very fine line between productivity and chaos. And the reason I say that is because the systems that underlie the massive gains are the same systems that underlie the massive chaos. An often overlooked fact in this age is majority of the innovation relies on the technology beneath it. And all the technology relies on the trust. I'm going to use this word again and again because this is most important. Relies on the trust that we as users, humans, employee, organizations, citizens, put on them to operate efficiently and, most important, securely. However, every week when you hear about major data breaches exposing huge customer information, it kind of highlights the fears and the challenges of this new digital era. These fears kind of dents our trust and gives an impression that the very technology foundation, right, which we are using to build a digital society, a digital economy, and hoping for massive GDP gains might have some structural flaws. And ignoring these flaws not only diminishes the trust, but I think not only diminishes the trust, but also possesses a question on the very existence of this revolution. A very concerning correlation, if the user don't trust the technology, they will not be using it. And if they don't use it, the very productivity that we are hoping for as a society might not happen. And this has been taken very, very seriously, not only in India, but across the globe. In fact, Mr. Modi referred cybersecurity as a bloodless war. And he cited cybersecurity as one of the major challenges in his dream towards digital India. So you have the government saying that, and then you have all the corporates talking about it. In fact, for the last data that I read, almost 53% of the corporates today have standing security committees, just like they have for audits, compliance, non-govs, etc. Because they know for themselves that the lifeline and their brand reputation depends on the trust that we as users put on them. And they will not be able to maintain the trust without security backing them up. Once again, just to reiterate, there is a huge tectonic shift that these technologies are driving for massive productivity gains. Technologies like artificial intelligence, IoT, mobility, SaaS, virtualization, so many of them. And the good part is they all are digital in nature. But the very technology that is driving the productivity are the very thing that could bring it down. So while it's a good thing to be in security business today, but there are a lot of challenges that we face on a daily basis. The top 3 challenges as per us are the physical and the cyber are blending. What I mean by that is more and more physical assets are being controlled by these cyber assets today. Right? And we have started having a pressing conversation in recent past, and I'm sure it will continue in the future as well, is that IT and OT convergence about SCADA. So a lot of challenges will be possessed, I think will be faced on the physical and cyber blending now as we move on. The second challenge is the very data itself. Data, which is today the most valuable asset for any country and organization, and for driving a prudent and a proactive business model, we tend to aggregate more and more data. While it is good from a productivity standpoint, but if you're on the cyber criminal side of the house, it's a big thank you. I appreciate you putting all the data at one or few locations for me to access that. So we need to guard the data. The third, which is more of a fundamental and a mathematical problem, which I'll talk about it, is that compute power is getting limitless. Might be an overstatement, but compute power is getting limitless and it's getting cheap. While again, it's a good thing from a gain perspective, but from an adversary standpoint, he gets to launch more and more sophisticated and automated attacks. So, cybersecurity is a big, big deal today. And it's going to remain a big deal for years to come. It's not going to go away. Not in our lifetime, at least. Nobody can fix it. No one. The only thing that we should and we could do is to contain it. And remember the line that I spoke about, the very fine line between productivity and chaos. We need to contain security in such a way that the risk between productivity and chaos is such that we all can move on with our life. It's the way you think about it and you take the right decision today that is going to affect your future. Because if you're not thinking the right way, if you're not taking the decision right way, the ability of ours to unwind in the future is very, very difficult. So we thought about this and we thought about this as a philosophy. It's kind of odd for a technology company to talk about philosophy, but we thought about this philosophy of where are we trying to go? Because if you don't know where you want to go, the ability to reach there is very, very diminished, right? So our philosophies in the time we opened up the gates for Palo Alto about 10 years back was prevention orientation. Not 100% prevention, but prevention orientation. What's prevention? It's like a maths problem today, right? We're all fighting a maths battle. The very essence is it's a math battle, and in a maths battle, the adversary or the criminal is able to launch sophisticated and automated attacks. Vis-a-vis us who are more in a detection and a reactive mode. If against a sophisticated and automated attacks, we are more defensive and detection and manual approach, mathematically we are dead. So by prevention automation, what we are trying to do is to raise the bar. Not to detect, but to prevent it. And I'll just talk about, this is how the curve looks like when I talked about the maths problem, right? And probably the teachers will understand it more better. This is how the curve looks like. I talked about the cost of launching successful attack going down because the compute power is going limitless and cheap. Hence, the criminal is able to launch successful attacks very cheaply, right? and because of that, the number of attacks is going up. This is what the current scenario is. By using a prevention orientation, we should be able to flip the curve in such a way that it looks like this. And then the economic theory will hold true, which will say if you are able to increase the cost of launching attacks, not attacks, successful attacks. The attacks will happen, but successful attacks, the number of successful attacks will obviously go down. So that's the theory of ours right now. So when we go around meeting customers, prospects, whether in government, whether in enterprises or education, doesn't really matter. They say 5 things. What they say is, I want better security. And when you kind of grill down and say, what do you mean by better security? They say, I want high degree of prevention. Yeah? If I'm able to get high degree of prevention, what I want is, I want less complexity. I think Debjani talked about simplicity, right? And simplicity is the friend of technology and security, not complexity. So they want better security, they want high degree of prevention, they want less complexity, they want better TCO and productivity. By productivity, they mean that the least leverageable resource, the people in the company, should be able to do more productive jobs around security, rather than taking logs and playing whack-a-mole every day. Better TCO, what they mean is that they want to get value for every dollar that they spend. Yeah? So better security, less complexity, better TCO, and measurable results. What they say is that I want to move up, down, sideways within my organization and should be able to talk about the measurability of the accomplishments that I've had so that people are able to measure the benefit that I've got, or tangible benefits that I have got for them, whether it's the CISO, whether it's the IT head, so on and so forth. The last what they want is consistency. They need to have a track record of being called more consistent. That means if they're able to get $1, this is what the company and the country gets. So I think last section is about the organizing principle, which is very, very imperative for the society, and it's very, I think we need to leverage that. The 3 organizing principles that I would like to talk about is prevention technology. I talked about prevention orientation. That can be achieved by prevention technology. Threat sharing. I think we talked, I think somebody spoke about sharing between public, private, private. We need to share threats, right? And most importantly, cyber education. So there has been a paradigm shift towards prevention orientation. If you look at, and if you draw a framework today of what's happening right now in terms of cybersecurity, it's a very manual and a very reactive mode that we follow. The outcome of today's framework, if you see, which is probably from a legacy architecture, point products, right, and more of a detection mode. When I say detection, it means the attack has happened and somebody tells you, hey, there might be a problem. That means you're already been breached and somebody is just detecting that. And then you start the whole manual process of incident response, of doing an RCA, trying to correct it, so on and so forth. It's very reactive and manual. The shift that is happening is towards a next-gen platform, not Palo Alto, but a next-generation platform, wherein all the cycle is natively integrated and they communicate with each other on a regular, real-time basis, which makes it more automated, proactive. And that's what I think prevention, there's a shift towards prevention orientation right now. That's what we need to do. The second is threat sharing. 3 things are required in here. Once you have a platform, right, you need to have 3 things. There are known threats, which I'm assuming that is known to everybody and that everybody can take care of. The problem is the unknown threats. What about that? Your platform should be able to convert the unknown threats into known threats in minutes. Right? The second is they should be automatically able to share the known threats. The unknown that you converted to known, they should be able to share the unknown threat across the industry. That's DIB, ISAC, CD, anywhere. So that the society is aware of the new threat that is coming up. The last thing is they should be automatically reprogram the network and the endpoint. It's no more siloed approach. Everything is integrated. You cannot have, okay, I have reprogrammed the network. Endpoint, you talk to somebody else. You should be able to automatically program everything in one go. That's threat sharing for us from an enterprise perspective. Third thing, what I think Palo Alto started off was a Cyber Threat Alliance. I think we started this off almost like 2 years back. with various competitive partners of ours, right? The idea of this Cyber Threat Alliance is to create an awareness. When you find a new threat coming in, right, or a new attack being placed, you need to be able to share with the customers, with society, with industry, with countries. So these are the partners which we found up a Cyber Threat Alliance where we share threats among each other. And it only benefits the customer and the society in here. Today we have about 10 other partners along with us. Cisco and Checkpoint have just joined this alliance. The last thing is education, the most critical piece right now. And why I say it's the most critical piece, just few data. There were 74% of the jobs that were unfilled in cybersecurity space. There were no applicants to it because we never had skills around them. As per NASSCOM recently, there will be a shortage of about 1 million resources in India in cybersecurity by 2020. 1 million. So you have a job opportunity here. I think Mr. Bala spoke about the automation taking away job, but I think the security is one which has a 1 million job potential in India for skilled resources. And imagine there will be 25 billion connected devices by 2022, right? The amount of security skills or personnel we would need to take care of these connected devices. So what are we doing about it? I think Palo Alto's Network Academy, right? It's basically around and designed to equip students for the next generation cybersecurity knowledge. We have about 170 plus authorized academy centers in about 22 countries. I think along with ICT, we joined hand with ICT in 2015, I guess, and we have about 33 universities in Chennai, in South, taking up this cybersecurity course. The benefits are like we train the faculty. I think Mr. Reddy talked about faculty training there, right? So we have faculty training at no cost. We have a training lab, right? We have courseware, and we have certifications around it. And these are some of the universities that we have tied up with. I think there's some Indian universities also there, SSM and Karunya, right? So we are with 170 odd universities right now across the globe. So the last thing, 3 steps forward: push for prevention, share the threats, and most important, education. Thank you. I'm like 2 minutes before my time, right?
Your knowledge should destroy ignorance. But if knowledge is not destroying ignorance, and if knowledge is protecting ignorance, that is not knowledge.
3% of India is Tamil. You know that? I mean, I did the research. 3% of India is Indian population, and 3% of that 3% is Tamil Brahmin. And so they are like, they consider themselves very, very pure. They think like they're like pure ghee, like they are.
நம்ம எந்த ப்ராபபிலிட்டியில் ஒரு காலேஜை மார்க்கெட் பண்ணுறோன்னா, ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து பயங்கர ஸ்ட்ரிக்டாக வச்சுக்கிட்டு அவங்களுக்கு பிடிக்காத நிறைய விஷயங்கள் பண்ணிவிட்டு, வேறஸ் வெளியில் போகும்போது நான் லேப்டாப் தரேன், நான் வந்து மார்க்கெட்டிங் பண்ணுறேன், காலேஜுக்கு பிராண்டிங் பண்ணுறேன் அப்படின்னா, எங்கேருந்து பிராண்டிங் வரும்? படிக்கிற 2000 பேரும் வெளியில் போயிட்டு தப்பாக பேசினாங்கன்னா